Hello, friends, and welcome to my review of this year's Backlash. So, before we get into the match by match analysis, I just kind of want to basically address some of maybe the concerns that quite a few fans were maybe having going into this event, because I think it does kind of tie into some of the comments you can make about the matches that we had here, and how they were facilitated, I suppose. Because you basically there was people kind of concerned about with how WrestleMania 42 went, especially with night one, where it was sort of fellas too bombarded with commercials and promotions or stuff. And I think that a lot of us kind of accept that that's just kind of part of the machine and all of that. But when it sort of starts to really impact the quality of the thing that you're actually paying for, when it's starting to eat into the quality of what you're actually there to see, then I think obviously it becomes problematic. So obviously, with this being the first PLE event that WWE were doing since WrestleMania, I think there were quite a lot of eyes on it to see if I was going to continue. Because I think if I was to continue, then I think that there was going to be this really kind of sinking feeling that people were going to have, where basically where they felt like that would just be the case now for going forward with every PLE. And I'm here to say that fortunately that wasn't the case here. Obviously we got obviously, like I said, we still got those promotions, we still got those advertisements, because like I said, that's not just going to go away completely. That is just, we are just with the corporate world, I'm afraid. But fortunately it did not impede on the quality of what we were actually getting here, which is a big thing that separates it from especially WrestleMania 41. All of the matches here that we got really had time to breathe. I think all of the matches went over 10 minutes, even went over 15 minutes. All of the matches were just given that air to breathe, and I think that it helped elevate a lot of things. So on that note, yeah, let's get started with the matches. Let's start with a match that kicked it all off with Seth Rollins against Bron Breakker. And again, this is just a kind of quite fitting that it started with this, because it kind of exemplifies what I was basically the point that I was kind of making about WrestleMania. Obviously, this match was originally scheduled to be a WrestleMania match, and then obviously it got pushed back due to obviously injuries that Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker had sustained, and then basically yeah, I did. Obviously, it got pushed back to Backlash, and what we end up here having is in a way a kind of a blessing in disguise, because I think putting this match here on this event just served it so much better. Because if we had got this match at WrestleMania, depending on what kind of night for, chances are it would have been cut short. Chances are, and whereas here it just had a lot more, because it's was a lot less stacked PLA, because we only had a 5 matches here. It was just given the room to breathe a lot more. And yeah, so I thought there were so many good spots during this match. There was a lot of counters. The performance showcase that they really knew each other really well. There was where Bron Breakker would hit Seth Rollins with a spear. He countered it with the pedigree, as he's done before with Roman Reigns. So that was a nice callback. Where Seth Rollins went to hit Bron Breakker with a stomp. He had countered it. There was a spot where Bron Breakker went to hit his a Frankenstein off the top rope. Seth Rollins sort of landed on his feet, and there's two analogies you can make here, because on the one side, on the positive, Bron Breakker sold this like his life depended on it. Okay, so basically, yeah, some of the facial expressions from Bron Breakker during this match I just thought was fantastic. Some of the moments where he really kind of sold told us, I just thought was fantastic. This was one of the spot. On the more negative mode, people have been kind of like sort of moaning, saying like, "Oh, Seth Rollins, it wasn't quite clean. Seth Rollins landed a bit wibbly wobbly," which is true. He did land a bit wibbly wobbly, but who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like, as I'm concerned, do you know what I mean? You know, these are human beings doing. You know, of course, you're not going to get every single thing 100% all of the time. And then you're basically, and also, you know, if things do look a little bit wibbly wobbly, that just almost makes it feel like the wrestling is more real, doesn't it? I mean, I know a bit, but like obviously, like most of us at least are legends, you know, that it's not. But obviously, we're all here to kind of like buy into the kayfabe and buy into illusion somewhat. So yeah, it just makes it feel a bit more grounded, I suppose. So yeah, for me, I was all down for it. There was I really, okay, so like obviously inevitably we got the Vision coming out here, but we didn't get as much shenanigans as we did, because as when the Vision came out, it could have been like a good with the build that we've had, it could have been just a sort of like a catalyst for like a Street Profits coming out and Joe Andrew coming out, and it could have been all of that. Fortunately, it didn't go down that route, and I think that the way that it handled the Vision interventions was actually really smart and really quite refreshing, because I just that obviously Seth Rollins is the architect. He is he is like a smart cookie. So he is like, you know, so obviously there's no way that he's going into this match sort of like not at least half expecting Logan Paul and Austin Theory to get involved here. So when they do get involved, he's completely ready for it. He's got the chair. He takes out he takes out Austin Theory and Logan Paul with a chair. I think he delivers a stomp to Austin Theory then, and then he chases Logan Paul out. He then comes back into the ring. As he rolls back into the ring, it's just giving Bron Breakker enough recovery time to hit Seth Rollins with a spear. And I had a real like moment of dread at that minute where I was like, oh my god, that's game. That's the end of the match. Unfortunately, like Seth Rollins kicked out at the last split second, and I was like, oh, thank God, thank God. So because basically, yeah, I was just like, I think if it had ended that way, I think I would have been a little bit more bummed out by by this match. But it went on for like another solid like few minutes, and yeah, I just thought it was I just thought it was fantastic. I thought the finish was and this was fantastic, where basically we had Seth Rollins basically going to deliver this super stomp from the second rope. We had Bron Breakker deliver this like kind of like super spear in counter of it, just then with mid there which looked like really gnarly. He then did his like little sort of like torpedo spear finger he does, where he basically builds up speed and momentum by back and forth from the ropes, yeah, to pick up a win. This is like obviously one prediction I did go wrong, because in my predictions today I did say predict as Seth Rollins, but yeah, I think that Bron Breakker winning works as well. We got the fact that obviously, you know, Seth Rollins is a veteran in this sort of situation. Bron Breakker is the up and comer, so I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think that there's also a lot more. I can't see this being a one and done. I really can't. I think that this feud has a lot more legs to it. I wouldn't be surprised if we basically continue this feud through to SummerSlam. Probably getting another rematch in between, maybe at a Clash in Italy, perhaps, where maybe Seth Rollins gets his revenge. It would kind of make sense. And then basically we kind of like, you know, like I said, carry through and conclude it at SummerSlam, maybe. But yeah, so yeah, that's kind of like what I'm expecting. So yeah, absolute solid match, I thought, to open it, and a real good pace setter, I suppose, as well. And so yeah, moving on to the next match with Trick Williams teaming with Lil Yachty and going up against Sami Zayn. Um, Again, I thought that this one was another like pretty solid match. I think again it was one of those matches where a lot of the stuff was kind of copy and paste from what we got at WrestleMania, but here again it was just sort of just given more time to breathe, and it just kind of like elevated it. It was sort of like a little bit. Some people think we did see a double turn here. I would say more of it like was more of like a tease double turn, because I think they you definitely had more of a uh, kind of like progression of Sami Zayn's heel character, where he just totally lost it, where he basically started beating Lil Yachty with a kendo stick, and then he hit him with a louver kick. Um, but yeah, it was kind of like preceded with like Lil Yachty kind of like getting involved beforehand and distracted and taking advantage of a referee's distraction and hitting Sami Zayn with a gingerbread kendo stick, which I can't believe that's still a sentence. But yeah, so it was basically yeah, so like I said, there wasn't entirely over the babyface, but yeah, I think that that it did all the things that it needed to do, I think. And like I said, I think that it was one where like I said in my predictions video, I think that Trick Williams's title run has more legs to it. Still, it has more potential to it. So I think that having Trick Williams here retaining was the right decision. So yeah, going forward, I think it's probably best we move on from this now. Obviously, like I think that also because I think the reason why I say that is because I just think that obviously they've had like a match at WrestleMania and they've had a match at Backlash. Trick Williams has kind of beat Sami Zayn twice, so we could kind of move on. But also we've had obviously this build, obviously on SmackDown with a gingerbread man and all of that, which has been proved very divisive. It's always, for me personally, it's always given me a good chuckle. I kind of like my goofy wrestling, but it is very, very silly humor, right? So I totally understand if this is not for you, then I totally get it, and you're not gonna like this. It has been very polarizing stuff, right? So I kind of like, but yeah, like I said, for me, I've got my fun out of it. But again, I totally understand why somebody might not like this. Okay, so yeah, I think that maybe we can just sort of move on from this now. And I think it'll just benefit them from having different feuds now. I think maybe you could have Sami Zayn kind of maybe turning his attention to some of the contenders. I don't know who you could necessarily. I want to say Cody Rhodes, but obviously Cody Rhodes is sort of tied up a minute with another feud with Gunther. I'm not too sure what you do with Sami Zayn. You've got to still continue to continue momentum. I think like Trick Williams, there's quite a few people you compare him against. Obviously, we've had people like Ilya Dragunov and Camelo kind of falling into this void a little bit. So I think it wouldn't be no bad thing to kind of bring them back. So maybe kind of like have Trick Williams feuded with either Carmelo or Ilya Dragunov, assuming they've kind of like escaped the cuts and they're still very much part of WWE employees. So yeah, I think that's on the table. I think I think that could benefit Trick Williams a lot. That would be matches I would really want to see. So yeah, like I said, talking about obviously the polarizing goofiness, we'll kind of like talk about our next match. Was Danhausen and his mystery partner against the Miz and Kit Wilson. The mystery partner ended up being Minihausen. like I said, I thought that this was fine. I got a chuckle out of it. Like I said, I thought like it was I thought it was really funny with where basically the commentary Wade Barrett had basically started saying please tell me this isn't an actual kid, because if it is a kid then we are in big trouble. Just made me chuckle. I kind of like felt like I believe the mini house fortunately wasn't a child, in case it needed to be said, and that he was an actual established lucha libre wrestler in AAA, I believe. So, and he showcased Stanley. You know, the guy had some moves. He performed some absolutely crazy, outstanding stuff here. And yeah, it's a really goofy spot where I think it was like Emily Hauser went to curse Kit Wilson, and Kit Wilson holds up a mirror to reflect the curse back. Um, yeah, like I said, there's not a whole lot. Do you know what I mean? I think that yeah, I don't think there's anything too much to really say here, because I think it ultimately just comes down to, you know, this is either you're either down for this in your wrestling or you're not, right? And I think if you like buy into it, you play along with the goofiness, I think you can have a lot of fun. Like I said, I can understand people, you know, not being on that. So it really does just kind of like depend on what your personal taste is, which is kind of like where that's where you know the success or failure of this completely hinges on it. I will say that we probably, because of the build that we got here, I think that it's probably best WWE really call it on the whole like mystery elements now. I don't think that they should really play like mysteries now unless they are planning something big, because I just think that it sets an expectation that just can't be lived up to. Because I think that some people who are real critics of this online, I think it was like amplified by the fact that people did have some big ideas. People who were kind of thinking, oh, maybe it could be CM Punk, maybe it could be Overfemi, all of that. I didn't think that there was any chance it was going to be those, but they were definitely common names that people were. And so, you know, I think that again, you know, and we've had cases where there's going to be like a mystery opponent, or you know, and people are like, oh, it's going to be The Rock, it's going to be Chris Jericho, it's going to be, you know, whoever. So so yeah, I just think that it's ends up kind of like shooting themselves in the foot a bit, really. So so yeah, I think that they should probably use a mystery thing, like call it a little bit on the mystery thing, and just use it kind of like more sparingly now. So yeah, now come to Io Sky and Oscar, and I think of this as arguably the match of the night. I really do. I was obviously confident that these guys were going to put on a stellar performance. Obviously, they are two tippity top wrestlers, in my opinion. Obviously, they've worked together a lot. They have the know. Obviously, they have great chemistry together. Yes, there was going to be kind of like a bit of a Kyrie saying shaped hole in this, which I think I was, but I had never really entertained the narrative that Kyrie Sane was going to return here and kind of like finish off the story, because, or at least it certainly wasn't hinging on that, hinging my enjoyment of this, you know, depending on that. I kind of like feel like I had. Yeah, I just was kind of like going, you know, I just hope that they, you know, deliver obviously a fantastic one-on-one match, and that was what we basically got. But the thing that really elevated this, I think, was just the storytelling in this. Is just, I thought, was just fantastic. We basically had this narrative going into it where basically Io Sky was, I mean, Oscar's protege. That Oscar was a master, and Io Sky was a student. And this is kind of like presented in the earlier stages of the match, where basically Oscar was completely like all over EO. Obviously, like I said, their two performers who know each other really well, so that was the kind of like born into a lot of it, where there was a lot of like different like counters here that were just kind of like moved through so swiftly and so wonderfully. We had a great moment here where basically Oscar went to hit the guy with the blue mist, and the guy held up Wade Barrett's notebook to cause a block. Yeah, just the choreography, the storytelling, just the fluidity of it, I just thought was fantastic. And yeah, so like I said, I think it's EO Sky picking up a win was the right decision. Although there was a case where where for what I really doubted it, I think it was a spot where I think Oscar had EO Sky in a submission hold. It might be in the Oscar lock. I can't quite remember now, but there was basically where Oscar basically had Io Sky with in this submission hold, and it looked like Io Sky was going to fade, and she was like, "Oh my god, she's fade, she's going to pass out," and then suddenly, almost just like in a split second, Io Sky goes from like fading to just completely rolling out of it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like so, but I just thought it was fantastic. I thought it was wonderful. We have to talk about obviously the post-match segment here, where basically after the match we had Oscar basically just breaking down in tears and just embracing the Sky. I think that it's one of them. Like I said, I've heard stuff about, obviously I know about Oscar's retirement, but I don't put too much stock into this. All I've really got at the minute is kind of like speculation and stuff like this. But it did very much the way that it was executed. It did very much have that sort of vibe, but this was kind of like a swan song for Oscar. It did kind of come out of left field because it was basically obviously because of the build that we had, and Oscar had been this heel for so long, and it's sort of like, yeah, it was a complete real sharp 360. I think that it was yeah, so yeah, like I said, I think that if this is going to be Oscar's last match, then yeah, all I can say is thank you, Oscar. And wish her, whatever she does, as she goes to New Japan or whatever, whatever when she goes, or on the indie scene, or whatever she decides to do. I just wish her all the best of luck, because. And it is a big loss and it would be a big loss for Oscar, because I do think that big loss. Did I just say big loss for Oscar? Big loss for WWE. Because I do feel like Oscar has been one of the tippity top people. Like I said, obviously said like Sky is my personal favorite, but preceding that, like Oscar was like my favorite before Sky coming along. So and obviously when Oscar came into the WWE, like around 2008, something like that, she just went on that phenomenal run. And yeah, I just think that she's been one of the best. I really do. I don't think, and when I say one of the best, I don't mean one of the best female wrestlers in WWE. I don't mean, one of the best wrestlers in WWE. I mean one of the best wrestlers we've seen, period. Right. I really do believe that she deserves to be in that conversation. What she has done has just been fantastic. And like I said, I think that if the guy continues along the path that she's on, the same status is waited for her, So I thought that this was a nice moment. I thought it reflected a real kind of passing of a torch moment. But yeah, it was kind of like bittersweet, because yeah, like I said, it did come out of left field, and I was like, to be honest, I'm not ready. I wasn't ready to say goodbye to Oscar, So I really ain't. So Um, so yeah, but like I said, if we do see Oscar again, great. If we don't, then like I said, all I could say is like thank you, Oscar, and you're an absolute legend, and yeah, I wish you all the best in whatever you're going to do. So we then got on to we'll talk about obviously the John Cena announcement that we got. So, because this all seems a little bit weird, right? I think there's good aspects to it, but it does feel a little bit weird, right? So basically, what we had got announced by John Cena was that there's going to be this sort of like John Cena tournament, if you like, kind of like I guess the way it was pictured was kind of like a bit of a King of the Ring type thing, where we were going to basically have performers from the main roster and then NXT competing. But the big twist here was that that basically reviewers would basically be similar to how they would in the reality TV show of I'm a Celebrity or X Factor or Big Brother or something like that. Then basically we are essentially going to have the viewers basically voting to basically vote on who they think should be the crowned winner, right? Regardless of how their matches played out, right? So basically, for example, we could hypothetically have, let's say, a match between Tozawa against Bron Breakker, right? And then that match is booked the way WWE would otherwise book it, where we got Bron Breakker absolutely breaking Tozawa in half. But then us as the viewer could go, well, we like Tozawa, we want to see a Tozawa push. And so we can like vote Tozawa, and if we obviously enough of us kind of feel the same way, then Tozawa could win the tournament despite obviously losing, which seems completely bonkers to me, right? Because look, because I mean, yeah, of course we know that obviously wrestling is sports entertainment, it's all predetermined and all that. But like I said, we all kind of like want to buy into the illusion, right? So it's basically like it's the same like when we see like a James Bond film, we don't want Daniel Craig to turn to the camera and go, I'm not really James Bond, right? Like it's that same sort of thing. So you want to um so you still kind of want to feel like wins and losses are kind of like accounting for something. I think that it's good that maybe WWE are trying to do a quite a bit of counting to try and kind of like reassure the fans that that their kind of like opinion matters. I think that's really good. But then why just did they should probably just be voted in for something else, right? Where well, I think they could have had the audience kind of like voted in on what performers go into the tournament, or maybe what matches they want to see, or maybe like even they could throw in a few stipulations for these matches and get people to vote in what stipulation they want. I think all of that works. But yeah, just voted on the overall winner, despite how all these matches play out, it just seems a bit bizarre to me. A bit. So yeah, obviously we'll have to see how it all plays out. But yeah, just very odd to me, I think. So yeah, that basically brings us on to our main event where we had Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, and as I did my predictions video, I went to do this like absolutely, I had no idea where this was going. There were like narratives flying all over the place where we were going to have the Usos come out and they were going to turn on Roman. Obviously, we had Solo and Tonga kind of lurking around here. So I had no idea how the pieces were going to fit together. I had no idea what we were going to see. I did say my predictions that Roman Reigns was going to retain just because I felt it was maybe a bit too early. And yeah, I thought the match itself was absolutely solid. And also, I gotta say, I'm really glad that for all the um, predictions and speculations and narratives that were flying around here, we didn't really get any too much interventions or shenanigans. We didn't have the Usos get involved here. We didn't have the MFDs getting involved here. And yeah, just similar to obviously what we had with between CM Punk and Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. I thought that was like actually like really refreshing. I thought there was like some real great selling by Roman Reigns here, where basically Jacob Fatu had basically just come out looking like an absolute beast, like an absolute monster. We basically had Roman hitting Jacob Fatu with like spears and Superman punches and all of his moves, and Jacob Fatu just getting right back up from it, and basically Roman Reigns just like completely selling this and kind of looking like he was really on the back foot and going, I have no idea what I can do to kind of like hurt this guy. So we had Roman Reigns picking up a win eventually, where in slightly heelish manner, which I think kind of makes sense, because I just think that maybe part of the play is from WWE creators' point of view, is that Roman is still meant to be this kind of like heelish character, just he's just got to such a status with the crowd that the crowd don't see him like that. It's that similar kind of like Randy Orton figure where we saw with Cody Rhodes, where Randy is like the heel, but people that just love Randy Orton and want to see him win his 15th fight. So I think that Roman Reigns has kind of finally moved into that area. So yeah, basically it was like, but yeah, we got some little bit of a heelish stuff where basically Roman removed the top turnbuckle exposed and steel. He hits Jacob Fatu's head off to I think he then delivers another spear to pick up a win, But then like Jacob Fatu basically gets up again like pretty quickly and just absolutely demolishes Roman Reigns and absolutely destroys him. And I just think that, so it again, it was sort of similar. I suppose it kind of like had echoes of the. I can imagine it's all like having echoes of the aftermath of the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton match. Talk about that where Cody Rhodes is basically coming out like looking all like being up with his eye and going, I'm not quite sure what I meant to say here because like I kind of won, but I ended up like a loser. And I think it kind of like had some sort of shades of that here, where Roman had kind of like won the match, but he certainly was the one who came out looking the worst for it. Like Jacob Fatu just looked like. So I think that the way they were, so I thought it was really good the way they were able to have Roman retain here, but they were going to basically keep the belt on him for a bit longer. It would get a bit to hand Jacob Fatu that lost default, but then still have Jacob Fatu just looking like this absolutely unhinged beast, right, going forward. And because of the beat that, I can't say like this has to continue. There's still been a lot of speculation about where Roman Reigns is going to be in June and if there's going to be any appearances and whatnot. I think that this was maybe why people were like entertained, and maybe Jacob Fatu could win here if he wasn't, if there was going if he was going to be away for some time again. But we have got Clash. Like I said, I think we've got, obviously, like I said, I can see this feud continuing. And like I said, we have got Clash in Italy, which is on the 31st of May, I believe. So potentially they could like just continue this through and revisit here and have a rematch. And I think whenever they do have a rematch, I think it does kind of make sense that Jacob Fatu then has to win. I think that it would definitely be more. I can't say about 100% because whenever Roman Reigns does have a match, I always find it hard to envision him kind of like losing. But I think that just from like a narrative, I think that I would be, if we revisited this, I would have more confidence in Jacob Fatu potentially picking up a win here. So yeah, I think if there is any stock about Roman's appearances in June and whatnot, like I said, they still got time where they can just keep the title on Roman for now, give it, so he doesn't lose it on his first like title defense, he can still hold on to, and they can still kind of like revisit the next PLE clash in Italy, and it still all kind of works within the sort of a time frame. Um, but yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, like I said, I thought that this was a solid conclusion. I thought this was a really solid episode of event of Backlash, should I say. And I think Backlash is getting on quite a bit of a run at the minute. I've heard people like kind of like say that Backlash totally outshone WrestleMania, and that people prefer this Backlash to WrestleMania. I wouldn't. And honestly, I'd find it difficult to argue with that, right? I think obviously, obviously WrestleMania has a stature that it does. So, see, we got a lot more out of WrestleMania in a manner of speaking. But like I said, I thought night two of WrestleMania was really solid, but the night one was kind of like very, very up and down, because of the sort of things that we talked about. So. Whereas this was just a very condensed but really consistent event. So I feel like in terms of just like focus and consistency, I thought that this was really solid. I think it went away to maybe reassuring some of the fans about of some of the concerns they had maybe going in off the back of the criticisms of WrestleMania. And again, you judges PLEs also by how much we go. Has this got me interested in seeing the next episode of Raw or the next episode of SmackDown? And it has, right? I'm interested to see how they follow all of this stuff up. I'm still interested to see where they kind of go with the whole Roman Jacob Fatu bloodline and stuff, because I still have kind of like no really idea where they're going with it. So yeah, I'm intrigued. Baffled but intrigued by it. So yeah, I'll be interested to see where they all kind of go with it. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my review of this Backlash. So yeah, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your own thoughts about Backlash were and what your own little fan theories are going forward. All of our fun geeky stuff. Please let me know down in the comment section. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.